Week 13 of the 2025 NFL season, and your Buffalo Bills are on the road taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Coming in as 4.5-point favorites, and I don't know if I believe in the Buffalo Bills as much as the people out west do, but we are going to preview Bills versus Steelers on today's edition of the Bills Breakdown by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Tyler Smith, as we are going to get into a Bills and Steelers deep dive, going through the stats and numbers that you need to know. We're going to go through the injury news from both sides of the equation, as well as my 5 keys to victory for your Buffalo Bills to come out victorious and bounce back. And then to end out today's video, we'll get to my final score prediction between Pittsburgh and Buffalo. Before we dive into all this and more, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. First time in a long time that we have a sub battle going on here at Chat Sports, battling our friends over at the Steelers Talk. Jack Sperry and them got nothing on the Mafia. So if you guys want to beat the Steelers off the field before we beat them on the field, go down below and hit the subscribe button because you get free Bills content every single day. All right, just before we get into the nitty-gritty of this game, I'm going to tell you guys straight up, this is a must-win game for the Buffalo Bills. Not only because you are on the brink of being out of the playoff picture at this point, but also because the Steelers are right there behind you as well. They come in at 6-5, and look, they're not a bad football team by any means. They have some massive wins so far this year. They've beaten the 2 best teams in all of the AFC right now. The Indianapolis Colts they have a win over, as well as the New England Patriots, who we know are the leaders in the AFC East. In Week 10, they did end up coming and falling short against the Chicago Bears, 31-28 on the road, but that did come in a game led by Mason Rudolph at quarterback for Pittsburgh there. So not normally their starter. The last meeting for these two teams, though, was in the 2024 wild card game. The Bills ended up winning pretty convincingly in that one. But that version of the Pittsburgh Steelers also did not have their current starting quarterback, and that is Aaron Rodgers. Now, Rodgers did end up breaking a small bone in his wrist last week and did not end up playing in Week 12. But Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin did say that he anticipates him being ready for next week against Buffalo. And that's great news if you're a Steelers fan because Aaron Rodgers has been pretty solid for the most part this year. He's leading the Steelers to an over 500 record. He's taking care of the football for the most part, right? 19 touchdowns and 7 picks. He's playing pretty efficiently as well, 66% completion, and on pace for around 4,000 yards, given that he's missed a game as well. Look, Aaron Rodgers is still a baller. He can still put the ball on any blade of grass on the football field, and he's got some help on that team as well. Like DK Metcalf is one of the better receivers in this league, one of the better physical receivers at the catch point. Honestly, one of the better receivers after the catch as well. We've seen him take off for 70-plus yard touchdowns so far this year. But honestly, outside of DK Metcalf, like, I'm not really too concerned with the rest of the weaponry that Pittsburgh employs. Like, am I supposed to be that scared and afraid of Kenneth Gainwell, Calvin Austin, like Roman Wilson? Like, who else are the receivers on the Steelers? Pat Freiermuth? Like, if we lose to Pat Freiermuth, like, clap it up for the Steelers then, man. But some more stats that you have to know as far as the opponent goes. They're honestly a better offense than I anticipated. The number 11 scoring offense in all football, averaging 25 points, I should say, per game. But they don't really move the ball a ton. They might be one of the luckier teams in the NFL, given that they have a lot of short fields. They get a lot of turnovers. They're ranked 27th in the NFL in yards per game. So that was interesting that I didn't see there. They do convert on a lot of their opportunities, though. That's probably why they rank so high in points per game. They are the number 3 team in the league when it comes to converting red zone opportunities to touchdowns. So that's something that the Bills have to be able to watch out for, as they are, we know, a bend, don't break defense. So when it gets to the red zone, they got to be able to keep Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers out of it. Their defense, honestly, middle of the pack for most of the equation there. They do a good job at keeping opponents out of the end zone once they get to the red zone as well. But again, they have a couple of players in that defense, but really haven't been, as far as the numbers go, one of the better performing units so far this year. Look, I think it boils down to you never really know what version of the Pittsburgh Steelers you're going to get. Like, are you going to get the one that was going toe-to-toe, wire-to-wire with the New York Jets, or are you going to go to that team that kind of dominated most of the game against Indianapolis Colts? Like, it's kind of, just shaking the 8 ball and wondering which Pittsburgh Steelers roster we are going to get in this matchup. And I think in a game against the Buffalo Bills, a regional kind of rivalry here, I think we're going to get the good version of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And as far as players where you're going to get a certain level of product, a certain level of effort, a certain level of production, TJ Watt, look no further. Like, this guy is a game wrecker in the strongest sense of the word. Like, he can take over football games, create turnovers. Like, this guy scores touchdowns on the regular as an edge rusher in this league. He only has 7 sacks so far this year, which is a little interesting to me. But, I mean, a lot of them are incredibly impactful, including a major play in this past week against Chicago. And with that being said, if you guys want the Bills to destroy the Pittsburgh Steelers in this game because they need to get bounce back in a major way, go down below and manifest it for me. Like today's video. Hit that thumbs up icon so the Bills go out there and take care of business against Pittsburgh. All right, now we're going to get into some Bills nerd stats to know, a little bit of a deep dive here as far as where Buffalo is at this point in the season. Now, something that's been pretty consistent most of the way is how horrific that the Bills' run defense has been, and that has remained true. As a matter of fact, it's gotten worse as far as the numbers go. Yards after contact per rush, that's where we're going on this week's Bills Deep Dive. They are dead last in all of football. It was a number that went up because they allowed 4.61 yards after contact per rush against the Houston Texans. Speaking of the Texans, they are the worst run defense in terms of yards after contact per rush in the past 7 years at 3.81. So an additional half yard on average that running backs are generating after first contact. This Bills defense cannot defend the run on simple schemes, and they cannot tackle either, and you're seeing that evidently in their statistics. And you know what's even worse is when the pass rush isn't getting home either. The run defense isn't working. Oh, wait, and now the pass rush has completely died as well. As far as the whole season goes, the Bills are actually a pretty middle-of-the-road pass rushing team, 15th in pressure rate and 9th in sacks rate. They actually convert a good portion of their pressures into sacks. However, that was a big reason why, because Joey Bosa was playing really, really good football at the start of the season. And then Michael Hoyt, once he got into the Bills lineup, really injected some energy. Well, then both those guys went down. Joey Bosa hasn't missed time, but he's dealing with a wrist injury that's made him less effective. And Michael Hoyt's on IR. And then you see the 3 weeks since those injuries went down, and I mean, egregiously bad numbers. 33% pressure rate, 24% pressure rate, 16% pressure rate. When you compare that up to the Bills' 35% pressure rate they've been running with all season long, and then they didn't even sack. They had 1 sack in the past 3 weeks. Where is Greg Rousseau? Like, this is not good. No wonder Shaq Lawson was in Buffalo posting on his Instagram story. No wonder they're trying to bring in familiar faces from the Bills' past. Like, this team is not getting to the quarterback at this point. And have they played some good offensive lines? Maybe, but I don't know if I'd go that far. The Texans' offensive line's been getting bullied all year. The Bucs' offensive lines had injuries all year long. You couldn't get home against any of those guys. I mean, the Dolphins' offensive line is horrific. It's crazy. Some of the worst pass blocking units in all of football have been able to keep the Bills away from their quarterbacks the past few weeks. That's not good news. Now, next, we're going to get some news on the injury front and my 5 keys to victory for the Buffalo Bills, and then wrap things up with my final score prediction. That in just a moment. First, though, the holiday season is here, folks. You don't want to be running around last minute with no Josh Allen jersey under the tree, and then your family member or friend is not happy with you. So make sure you guys get one today at chatsports.com/Josh Allen. They got colors, sizes, all available, and they also have some free shipping popping up, some discounts as well. You want to strike while the iron is hot, but you want to make sure you get them before the season rolls around and it gets too late. Chatsports.com/Josh Allen to get yours today. That link is in the comment section and description of today's video. Go get yourself a fresh Bills jersey for the holiday season or a friend or family right now. Alrighty. The Bills injury report with an asterisk, of course, as we don't have the official one out yet, but here are some names that are destined to show up on there. Terrell Bernard deemed week to week with the elbow injury, face mask to the elbow by Matt Milano. He is going to be out for this game, as well as Spencer Brown dealing with the shoulder injury here. He got roughed up in that game against Houston. He is more than likely ruled out as well, and there's a good possibility that one of, if not both, of these two players go on injured reserve for Buffalo. Max Harrison, their rookie first-round corner, he's dealing with a concussion right now, and it's yet to be seen. And with the whole long week in between the last Thursday night's football and this coming Sunday's football, that if he'll be ready or pass all the concussion protocol tests that he needs to pass. And then Dalton Kincaid still dealing with the hamstring injuries, missed the last couple of weeks of football for the Bills. I really hope that Dalton Kincaid is able to play. We'll tell you why in just a moment. As far as the Steelers injury front goes, there are some things that we had to be taking note of here. DK Metcalf listed with an ankle injury. We'll see what that looks like on the real injury report when it drops this week. Alex Highsmith did not play against the Bears last week. Mike Tomlin did say it's likely that he ends up playing against Buffalo, but got to watch out for that and his shoulder injury. Broderick Jones going down with a Mike Tomlin called it a stinger. I'm not exactly sure what went down there, but we're calling it an upper body or a head thing he's got going on. We'll monitor that. And then Joey Porter Jr. I mean, this is a big-time injury for the Steelers secondary. Joey Porter Jr. has been making plays all season long, and he's dealing with a little bit of a hip flexor thing. We'll have to monitor that and see if he's ready to go in Week 13. Now, we'll get to my keys to victory. My 5 ways the Buffalo Bills go out there and execute and get a win in Week 13. Starting off with, I'll honestly it was some wishful thinking, to be quite honest with you guys. The Steelers are one of the better running teams in the NFL. Do they average some of the most yards per rush? No, but what they do is put themselves in great situations to be successful with the rush. I think the Bills just kind of got to hope that they don't call runs, or at least don't call runs in the ways that they do. This is a good rushing offense against a historically bad rushing defense for the Buffalo Bills here. I want to go to a couple of stats that I have from my good friend Jack Sperry. He was essentially saying that since the Pittsburgh Steelers started running this new formation, or not new formation, but like new look since week 4, where they've been one of the best jumbo package teams in all of football, the Steelers are 5th in rushing EPA and 4th in rushing EPA and 5th in rushing success since they started employing packages like this, with an additional down lineman, with a big tight end in there as well. They like to run Darnell Washington. He's 6'8", big blocking tight end who's also an athlete along the line of scrimmage there. So they've been doing a lot of these types of looks against teams, and they've been having big-time success against them. I'm sure they are going to run these types of looks against the Buffalo Bills, and with the way that the Bills' run defense is, it just doesn't look like there's a way to stop it at this point. This is not something that is easily repairable, easily fixable in 1 week. Like, you just don't become a magically better tackling team week to week in this league. So the way to combat this is the offense starting fast, the offense scoring maybe multiple times before the Steelers get their first points up on the board. So they have to be in obvious passing situations, and they're just not trying to run it down your throat as much as they normally would if they were in control of the game. And I think that's a way that the Bills have kind of fallen in some of these pitfalls last few weeks. They let teams dictate tempo. They cannot let the Steelers do that this coming week. Now, as far as that offense goes and getting into a groove, how about get some play action going? Because another couple of things that Jack Sperry of Steelers Talk told me as far as what the Bills could do to expose this Steelers defense. Now, the Steelers, he said, like to run a lot of cover 1 man blitzes, like to run a lot of cover 3 fire zones as well, where they're just sending an additional man. They're sending 5-man rushes against the Bills here, and what that will do is leave the middle of the field wide open. Now, who can benefit from that? You got guys like Khalil Shakir. You got guys like Gabe Davis who are able to take a slant and go. And you also got guys like Dalton Kincaid, who I hope and pray plays this week. Like, he has been the best separator in this Bills receiving core. He has been overall the most productive player, I guess, raw numbers outside of Khalil Shakir. But when you look at touchdowns, yards per catch, like, if straight up efficiency when he's out there on the field, because he doesn't even get crazy stat counts. Dalton Kincaid is the best receiver on this team. He needs to be out there to go out there and help 17. Next up on the keys to victory, neutralize TJ Watt as best as you can. This is I think this is a Joe Brady thing, to be quite honest, because we saw the Bills get absolutely screamed at by Will Anderson, by Danielle Hunter all game long in Week 12. Well, the only reason that the Steelers were in the game against the Bears this past week is because of this, because of TJ Watt strip sacking Caleb Williams and the Steelers picking it up in the end zone and scoring a touchdown out of it. Like I said before, this is a game-wrecking type of player. So what Joe Brady needs to do, put an additional down lineman out there. Put a 6th lineman out there. If it means we don't have an additional wide receiver, that's fine. They don't get open anyways. Like, get an additional lineman out there. Get an additional tight end out there. Make sure there are 2 bodies on TJ Watt nearly at all times, because you're going to be down your right tackle. Deion Dawkins isn't playing his best ball of the season, and TJ Watt is absolutely hitting his stride at the right time. Need to be able to neutralize him as best as you can, and most of that, in my opinion, comes down to game plan. Next up, more of Joe Brady stuff, to be quite honest. Joe Brady calls better stuff for his best player not named Josh Allen, and that is James Cook. James Cook had, on paper, a pretty solid game against the Texans this past week. 3 big runs. Awesome day. 116 total yards on the ground. But he had 3 big runs. One was for 20 yards, one was for 13 yards, one was for 45 yards in the score. 14 of his other 17 carries were for 38 yards. Less than 3 yards a touch. I think this was a situation where James Cook was not being put in places to succeed, because we know what he can do with the ball in his hands. Bust those big runs, big chunk plays, find the holes, and he really follows his blockers very well. Well, it seems like Joe Brady wasn't really putting him in the best situation to do so. In that fourth quarter, there were 5 straight run plays called for James Cook. There was another possession earlier in the game where I believe they ran it 4 straight plays with James Cook, and they didn't pick up the first down. This happened again in the fourth quarter. 5 straight Cook runs led to a turnover on downs. I mean, they were sniffing it out. It was so predictable. It was so telegraphed. And it was just, I don't want to see it anymore. Put your best players in better position to succeed. Lastly, go B17. Just go out there and do what you do, Josh Allen, because clearly everybody around you has not done their part. This roster construction is brutal from Brandon Beane. This coaching has been brutal from Sean McDermott and the coordinators. Josh Allen is this team's only hope. He has to go out there and rise above his environment, rise above the people putting barriers around him, or I guess not doing anything around him. Straight up inaction from the front office. He's got to go out there and be 17. The Bills have 17, and this team that they're playing does not. So they got to go out there and make that known, and go out there and win the football game. And it might just be single-handedly from Josh Allen. With that being said, predict the score for me down in the comments right now. Predict the score of Bills versus Steelers in Week 13. Who wins and by how much? I'm going to give you guys my score prediction right now. I got the Bills winning. Bills winning, bouncing back against the Steelers here. It's going to be a close one, though. I don't think they're going to cover that 4.5-point spread. 23-20 is my final on the road. I don't know why I feel good about this one, but I kind of do. I think the Bills are the more talented team. They got the more talented quarterback. They got to go out there and prove it. Make sure you guys are following me over on Twitter, though, as that will do it for today's show at Tyler J. Smith. 2 H's because the name's common, but I am not. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel as well. YouTube.com/Bills News. We will be live for this game as well, so make sure you join us then on Sunday. We'll see you guys in the next video. And as always, let's go, Buffalo.